Here's an old dining room chair that I'm going to recover with some new fabric. You can see it's stained. And I'm going to show you how to quickly and easily recover these chairs. And there's my new pattern. And I'll show you how I did it. First step is to remove the cushion from the chair itself. Most cushions are held on with screws, usually under the chair. My chair happens to have 4. I don't have live sound on this video because my kids were running around and screaming in the background. So there we go, there's the 4th screw. Just zip it right out and the cushion comes right off. And now I'm going to remove all of this dust cover paper cloth on the edges. I take the screws out of the chair as well. Save the screws, you're going to reuse them later. This old cloth doesn't really serve much of a purpose. There's my screws, going to save them. Just ripping it all off. It's just held on lightly. I don't see much of a purpose. I do not replace it. Some people swear you have to replace it, but I haven't seen a point to it. It should come off fairly easily. I'm also going to be leaving the original fabric on the chairs to keep the shape. So there we go, stained, ready to go. Here's a new material. If you get it from a bolt or if you get it folded up, you'll want to make sure it's clean. My wife is using a handheld steamer here to just take out the wrinkles. And then we flipped it over. These are actually curtains that we got from Christmas tree shop. They're thick, but they're relatively cheap. So we're kind of putting the cushion down and we're going to kind of get a sizing. You want the edges to overlap by a couple inches on the bottom there. If you play your cards right, you can get 3 or 4 cushions worth of material out of a single curtain or bolt of fabric, depending upon your size. So there's my wife there cutting it. Again, we're kind of ballparking it. We didn't take any really tight measurements. As long as it's larger than the actual cushion and you have some overlap, you should be fine. Pull each edge tight and staple away. If you haven't used a staple gun before, automatic one is much easier. We've done this with a manual staple gun, and it's actually pretty rough. There we go, pulling the edges, and you can go ahead and pull the corners. And if you, the way we did is we pulled each side up first, stapled 1 or 2, and then pulled and neatened out the corners. Just kind of round them up and staple a couple times. And you get the hang of it pretty quickly, and there you go. Because we kept the original cushion on, we kept the shape. Original fabric on, we kept the shape. And now we're ready to put it back on. So here's our chair. Here's our newly covered seat cushion. Just kind of position it, make sure it's there. Another angle, the same thing. You kind of put it in, and you're going to kind of put your screws back in, and you're going to zip them back in. If you're lucky, you'll hit pretty much the same spot where the original screws were. If not, it might be a little off. You should be okay. The base should be pretty unforgiving, or pretty forgiving rather. And there we go. Drill it right in. And once one's in, it's pretty secure. You just put the rest of them in. The bottom of the seat cushions, my particular cushions, is kind of a thin particle board. So staples go into it, screws go into it fairly well. If you did this regularly, once every couple years, I could see eventually you'd want to replace the bottom portion of the cushion as well. We've had this dining room set for about 15 years, and this is probably the first or second time. Second time we've actually replaced the fabric on all the chairs. Last screw here. It's really pretty straightforward. It only takes about, once you get going, it only takes about 10 or 15 minutes per chair. You don't want to over tighten the screws. You just want to get them in there so the chair seat cushion is secure. So once again, here is the old chair. It's kind of stained. And then here's the new chair. It's just that simple. Please leave questions below.